It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's like threads upon threads of, entrapping women into this Islamization of the society. And Gaza, by the way, I know people find it, my family, I come from a pretty conservative Muslim family. My mom and siblings and sisters all cover up and wear the hijab. They're very committed and devout Muslims. But in the 70s, and like even up into the early 80s, there are pictures of my aunts and my mom in skirts and in pants and in like cuts and stuff like that. This started in the early to mid 1980s with the Mujamma Islami, the Islamic complex. And that's how you hear about Hamas having the social services. And it creeped up to political activism. Then it creeped up to militant activism. And so, unfortunately, the women of Palestine in general, but especially the women of Gaza, over, I would say, a 3.5-decade period, have suffered from the Islamization of society in a way that is inherently inconsistent with Palestinian culture and Palestinian values that were largely secular. Yes, Islam was a big part of the Palestinian national identity, but it was always as something that goes along with the national identity, not this like, oh, we are Muslims first and then Palestinians. And I'll conclude with this, just on this, and that's the thing about Hamas, is from the very beginning, they said it out in the open, mainline headlines. We don't care about Palestinian identity. We don't care about the Palestinian state. Mahmoud al-Zahar, and I was in Gaza when all of these leaders, these disgusting leaders were there. He would say, oh, the Palestinian flag is like a little toothpick. He said that in 2007. It was only after the Palestinian National Project hit a roadblock that Hamas decided, all right, we're going to rebrand from pure Islamism to be national Islamists. And so that's why you started having the Nukhba, the Hamas's elite fighters that committed those horrendous atrocities on October 7th, when they actually still wore uniforms, not like what they do as cowards today. They started wearing, you saw all the Hamas fighters getting issued the Palestinian patch insignia to say that we are nationalist Islamists. So unfortunately, the women of Gaza, just like in a different way, have paid a heavy price.
Thank you so much. I've been told we need to wrap it up. So just very quickly, I want to go through every one of you. What should this film leave with us in terms of what we need to do, each one of us, what we need to do next to make sure that we're doing our part? But really leave it for one sentence. Go ahead.
I'm going to answer this question as a Jew, as an Israeli citizen, that what this film did for me, that reminded me that if I'm not the owner and the narrator of my own story, someone will take it from me, and it is my duty to continue to talk about this movie, to talk about these women, and to, when I walk into a room of women's rights organizations, that I don't leave those two parts of me outside, and I insist that people look me in the face and recognize what my people are going through, what these women have gone through, and I'm not going to back down.
Well, I think everybody in this room can play a role. Education, as I said before, is the road to peace and understanding. There is denial not just of the women's rape issue, but there also is denial of everything. The posters being taken down, the whole experience, the whole Jewish-Israeli experience. So you have a role. You can educate, you can post, you can repost, and if you're on social media, if not, you can write a letter to the editor, you can pick up a pen, you can put your hands on this, you can make sure that every single one of your friends sees this film and other films that are relevant. So pick up a pen, make sure that you take a role here, join us.
800 people were executed in Iran last year. That's what the UN repertoire told us last week on the Hill. Just for saying what they believe in, for not wearing a hijab or a dupatta or whatever. 800 people were executed.
2,000.
Why? 2,000. If they're saying 800, it might be 2,000. Why is there selective outrage? Why didn't people speak up for Mahsa Amini, who had the courage to do what she believed in? Why aren't we talking about the Uyghur women who just had a conference in New York and said, listen to us, we are also Muslim and we're hurting. Why don't we talk about Rohingya women? Do you know, thousands and thousands of them were raped They are still trafficked and sent to all parts of Asia, but we are just concerned with Israel. That has to stop. This selective outrage has to stop, and we all need to demand that Sima Bahous, who's the UN Women's Chief, has not condemned the violence of Hamas against Israeli women. She doesn't even believe it. She needs to resign, and we must all call for that. My taxpayer dollars and yours cannot go to building tunnels and refusing to acknowledge the pain of women.
I'll keep it short. I think
Yeah, please, everybody.
we need a political and civic engagement home for Muslim Americans that are not anti-Semitic, that are not with the grievance narrative, and that are a counter to CARE and ISNA and ICNA. What's sitting in Washington, D.C. today is a danger. The Muslim-Jewish relations, the history of them in the United States has always been on caveats, and that was on Zionism and the existence of Israel. And so we need to change that. So we need a seat at the table, and we need to be in Washington, D.C.
Be a role model. Show that you can hold multiple truths at the same time. Even if you support Israel, even if you wish the destruction of Hamas, and believe me, I'd love to wake up tomorrow and find Hamas gone. Try your best to think of the humans on the other side. Think of the people of Gaza that are suffering due to circumstances over which they have no control. If you model that, if you exhibit that, you show that you're the better person, even if it's not reciprocated. You do what's right, not expecting something good in return, and I promise you that will plant seeds for transformation.
So I have, when I met Rachel Goldberg in Tel Aviv, she told me about her son Hirsch, who had many Muslim friends, but not one person contacted her. And I told her I will remind about her son at any gathering that I come to and I speak at. And so I want you to remember her son. And when I met Amit in DC, I asked her, what is the message you have for the world? She said, talk about us so that people will hear. And my request to you is, there are 650 million Muslims in South Asia. Don't forget that. Don't let the Arab voices take hold of the narratives. So yes, yes, please. This is urgent. This is important. As Zainab said, we need you to amplify our voices. This is hard for us. They call us, I mean, we are a step away from a death threat, but we take a step because we are convinced we are not looking for consensus. So I want you, every one of you, to be convicted. Don't look for consensus. Do something. Amplify Muslim women's voices who are from South Asia in particular. Thank you.
3 very practical things. First, share this video with 10 friends. Second, post this video to 5 feminist organizations that have not spoken about this and ask them why that hasn't happened. Third, follow every single organization represented up on this panel that is fighting against global gendered violence.
Well, last in the alphabet, Zipperstein. Last word. 2 quick things. 1, demand of your elected representatives that every public school teacher from kindergarten to the UC system be required to watch this film before the school year starts again in September. Number 1. Number 2, let's express our appreciation to our Muslim sisters and brother who displayed incredible courage tonight.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Rabbi Barron. Thank you, everybody, and every one of you is so precious. The one thing that I have to leave you with is life is precious for all of us. There are desserts outside, and everybody